Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Production, Opera San Antonio's live interview series, taking artists off the stage and into our community to share their experiences in the operatic arts. My name is Lauren Meeker, and I am the General and Artistic Director of Opera San Antonio. And joining me, as always, is my fabulous partner in crime, Francesco Miliotto. Hi, Francesco.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm excellent. I feel like it's been so long since I've seen you 2 weeks ago.
It's been too long, too long.
It has been. So we are always thrilled to be with everybody here today. And I want to thank you if you're joining us live and in the moment during this lunch hour. And I also want to thank you if you're watching the interview later on our YouTube channel. And for everybody to know, all of the interviews in this series can be found on Opera San Antonio's YouTube channel under the playlist Beyond the Production. So without further ado, I want to introduce you all to our stunning guest today. This is amazing and talented Ebony Adams. Hi, Ebony.
Hi. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Francesco.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Welcome, welcome. We are so thrilled to have you with us today. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of background on Ebony. Okay. This is my personal soapbox for Ebony.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be one of your guests.
Of course, we are so thrilled. So for our audience watching today, if you don't know Ebony and you're in opera, you should know Ebony. You need to know Ebony. I think she's an incredible multidisciplinary artist. And she has one of the most, in my opinion, fantastically written bios on her webpage ever. So humor me, Ebony and Francesco. I have to read this because it starts with the best intro line ever. Ebony considers herself an action figure. Okay, what gets better than that? Going on, she keeps it moving. She is originally from Austin, Texas. So shout out to a Texas girl. Yeah. After receiving a BFA in dance, she went on to have a fruitful career as a professional dancer. From Cirque du Soleil to the LA Opera, Ebony has worked with a lot of greats across multiple industries. And you say, Ebony, that the highlight of your career, which we'll talk about a little bit later, was dancing in Celine Dion's A New Way at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And when you're not busy dancing, you're acting, you're writing, you're directing, and you're producing. So, just that.
Yeah, just keep it moving. You have to.
Little things to keep you interested and diversified. So, Ebony, I want to share with everybody how you and I met, because I think that's going to springboard more of our conversation. So we've worked together twice at LA Opera, and that's thanks to a really good friend of ours, Eric Sean Fogel, who is a choreographer who we both work with. So shout out to Eric Sean Fogel if he's welcome. And those two productions occurred the first time because I believe Eric had engaged you as a principal cover dancer. Is my terminology correct there, Ebony?
Yes.
And that was on a really wonderful production of Florencia en el Amazonas. That was the first time we met. And the second time you were both performing in as an actor slash dancer slash singer, because you're a triple threat. You were both performing in and the dance captain of Candide.
Yes.
Fantastic. So that's how Ebony and I got to know each other. And because of the wildly small world that we're in, Francesco and Ebony just met 5 minutes ago when we logged on.
5 minutes ago.
Here we are.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Virtually.
I have so many questions only about Celine Dion, a great Canadian celebrity. And it's my very good friend Stefan Macchio that also wrote that song, A New Day, that whole thing is based on. My college roommate.
Hello.
What? I mean, I heard that song before Celine Dion heard that song. Yeah, Yeah.
So we knew each other before knowing each other.
So great.
Fabulous. Oh, so we already have some people chiming in, Ebony. Tim Campbell, who we both know from that production of Candide, is saying two absolute bosses. Woohoo, love this. We have Aunt Green saying, nice to see you, fam. And Greg Sample, who we also know from LA, two lovely and admirable ladies there. Francesco, we've got some introductions to do for you in LA, apparently.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But I mean, first, Ebony, I mean, I love asking this question, and Lauren gives this one to me all the time because it's my favorite. I do want to know the background, because everybody has such different ways of coming into this, and someone with your level of diversity in all of the different things that you do, you know, being the triple threat and still writing, like doing all of those things, there's definitely got to be an interesting background and backstory to how you got that and how you developed each of those things. Probably one sort of folded into the other, but it's something that we all want to know about. So if you could help us a little bit with the background, I totally love to hear it.
Sure. Yeah. So hi to everyone that's watching right now. Tim, Ant, and Greg, whom I danced with for 5 years. That's Beyond's a New Day. So hey.
Yeah.
So the background is pretty interesting because a lot of people think that I started dancing really young, like training classically at 3. That wasn't the case. My dad's in the Army, so I come from a military family, and we kind of hopped around like Army families do, or military families do. And the place that you can find me dancing is in our living room or in my bedroom. And so as I started getting older, I told my parents that I wanted to dance. And my dad had it in his mind that when I was a freshman, that I should instead join ROTC. So that is ROTC, Reserve Officer Training. So basically get a credit before you enter in the military so you don't start out as a private. I joined the dance team there, the drill dance team. He said, no, try ROTC. So I did that for a year, every Friday wearing camouflage, learning how to clean a rifle. I don't know how to do that now. And I really did that to appease him because I knew my sophomore year was when I would have an opportunity to audition for the dance team. No formal training, but I went in. I only knew how to do the splits on like the right leg splits, not even the left yet. So I remember, so my living room training that I had, right? So I remember my mom picking me up from rehearsal and saying, so how's it going? Do you think that when you audition, do you think you'll get it? And I said, I don't know. Like, I only know how to do the splits on the right and not the left. They can do middle splits and this and that. Well, cut to a week later, auditioned, and I made the team. And that kind of launched, my pursuit of dance. With dance drill team, it was a lot of high kicks going on. Like we'd perform at a halftime show, but on the halftime show for the football team, there was competition. And so this gave me an opportunity to really learn choreography and also enter in my own solos, things that I had choreographed. And that's how it launched. From there, I went to Sam Houston State University, where I got most of my dance training. My first ballet class was when I was 17.
I love that, Ebony. I think it's so fabulous to get drawn to something. You know, some people start when they're super young, some find it at another point in their life, and that's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I always had a passion for dance, and I knew it was something that I was going to do, no matter if I grew up in the studio or not. So I just really had this focus of I mean, my dream was to be a company member in Ailey, like Alvin Ailey Dance. I mean, that's mainly everyone's dream. I had my eye on that. And from there, I moved to Chicago, got a scholarship with Gus Giordano Jazz Dance Chicago. Was there for 2 years. In Evanston.
In Evanston? Yeah. I'm 3 blocks away from Evanston right now.
We were so close yet so far away.
Amazing.
So I danced in the scholarship program and then the second company. Didn't make the first company.
It's all right.
So okay, I'm moving to New York.
I think you're doing okay. Yeah. You're okay. I think you're doing all right.
I'm moving to New York and I'm going to be on Broadway now.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Stayed there, was there for about 6 months, auditioned for everything under the sun. And then I received this email that said, we would like you to join Celine Dion's A New Day. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
Did that come through an agent that you had in New York, or that's Las Vegas based? So what's the connective tissue there?
Okay, so not an agent. This was long ago. This was when you used to actually buy backstage, like the paper copy, and go through. And I had this spiral.
Paper. Nobody reads that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I love paper though. I have books everywhere, and even with a smartphone and technology, I still make notes on like Post-its and stuff. Of course. So the back of, at the time I was living with my aunt and uncle in Queens, and I am just looking for the next audition.
Mm-hmm.
And this small, like the last page, it says Franco Dragone Productions. We're looking for acrobats, acrobat artists, singers, dancers, musicians for a new show. I don't even know if it had a new Las Vegas show. I'm not quite sure if her name was attached to it. Send your headshot and resume to Belgium because that's where they're based. Mm-hmm. That's where Franco Dragone's production. Mail it off. They contacted me and said, we'd like to invite you to the audition.
Great.
So I made the audition and the resume. And then I was in an audition for, I want to say, with breaks in between, 6 to 8 hours, where they auditioned about 60 people that they had chosen a day. And they started the audition by saying, everyone look around because at the end of the day, there will only be 3 of you left.
Yep.
Wow.
So we went through a series of every style of dance you could imagine and cuts. Mm-hmm. Then a lunch break. And we came back, did acting exercises. Then the people that made it, luckily I was one of them, then we did a vocal assessment evaluation, and they were just grading us. And I had never been to an audition like that. Did the audition, went on about my day, and didn't hear from them for months. And then my uncle one day, I'm just coming into the house and he says, hey kid, someone from Belgium called you?
Yep.
And I wanted to make sure that I heard him right because I have a good girlfriend that's from Switzerland. And I was like, are you sure it wasn't someone from Switzerland? He's like, no kid, Belgium. So I ran upstairs, checked my email, and there it was. We would like to offer you a contract. And I'm like, this is not real. Like, it gives me goosebumps. And then they called me later on that day, and that's how it all went down. From there, we were 50 dancers from all over the world, and we spent 4.5 months in Belgium in a small little town called La Louvière. And we started training while the Coliseum was being built and working on choreography and really constructing the show, not understanding, just creating and workshopping, not really understanding what it would be like on stage, because that was another several months of constructing the show. It's wild.
Wow. Okay. How long was it? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Francesco. Go ahead.
5 years. 5 years?
5 years. So
okay, the most important thing, the thing that everybody on the planet wants to know. How is it to work with Celine Dion? Is she nice? I mean, is she as nice as everybody says? I mean, I only know what Stefan tells me, and he's like, she's the nicest, most kind, generous lady in the world. And I want to believe that because I'm Canadian.
You're Canadian. Okay.
Of course, I'm from Toronto. She's like, other than Tim Hortons, she's like the Canadian symbol of the world.
Exactly, right? Every Canadian that I've ever met has been so nice. And I will say this. She was absolutely the most amazing woman that I've worked with.
Boom, there it is. Boom, told ya.
Boom.
That's right, there it is.
You know, the thing is that, give it up. No, I also had that curiosity of like first time meeting. I remember she flew to La Louvière with Renee.
With Renee, yeah.
Yeah, and we were all excited, but we didn't know what to expect. And she was just this ball and this light of energy that really elevated the space, because here we are training 8 hours a day, and the big boss is showing up, and we want to impress her and show her what we've been doing, but we're still trying to understand what we're doing.
Right.
And she's undeniably the nicest person that I've met. So what you see on camera is even more elevated off camera.
Fantastic. Oh my God. So great. And you got to live in a hotel. Where did you live while you were there? Sorry, Lauren.
So
I'm just so curious.
They set us up actually around the town. So we got to live like the locals do.
Right.
In La Louvière. Yeah. It was really nice because so La Louvière is about 45 minutes away from Brussels. And it really does feel like a village. So if you can imagine that you are meeting everyone for the first time in this small, quaint town. And I have friends from Spain, from Chile, from all over. And here we are looking at each other like, who are you? Who are you? And where are we? And so immediately 50 dancers go like, we're now family, because we are navigating this together and understanding what this is going to look like. And 5 years later, I'm on WhatsApp group messages with most of the cast members. And, we've been able to celebrate marriages and kids. And that's really, Lauren, the true highlight of being a part of this show. The name Celine Dion obviously holds a lot of weight, and people want to know about the show. And I really feel like it broke the ground for Vegas to be a viable place for musicians and artists to really have a residency there. But before then, we were all, I was skeptical. I'm like, Vegas? Wait, I'm going to be on Broadway, Right. And now Vegas is the place to be. Pre-pandemic,
right? Sure.
Was a place to be, and it's a really beautiful testament to really taking a chance and making some really great connections with people.
So, Ebony, I want to talk a little bit more about those connections. You spent about 5 years in Las Vegas, and the Celine Dion show is not the only show that you were involved with. But basically, we've now learned how you got into dance, how you got into acting. We know you're singing, but there's other puzzle pieces that are going to fall into place here, like working with Tony Bennett, and also being able to start your own choreography through Mind the Gap. Can you talk a little bit about how those things came to pass?
Yes. Okay. So being in Vegas for 5 years, 50 artists doing the same show every night, although it was really fun and we got a lot of energy from 4,000 people coming to see the show. So that was beautiful. We still had the rest of our creative juices that wanted to explore outside of just performing. And, you had artists that were not only dancers, but choreographers and possibly artistic directors for their own dance company. So we all came up with, how can we express ourselves outside of this show? And we collaborated and put together a show outside of the strip called Mind the Gap, which would allow artists in our show to showcase their choreography skills. So I'm like, hey, I'm all for it. So I started choreographing, and it was great because you already had your company members that wanted to do some other choreography besides what we were doing 5 nights a week. So, and incredible dancers too. So I choreographed. We had about 3 showcases where all of Las Vegas was invited to come see the show. And then other artists that were part of Cirque du Soleil and part of shows on the Strip also supported us. And that's how I got started in terms of choreography and what I fell in love with. And it just seems like the natural transition for any dancer is, we just want to move. And what way then to start creating our own vocabulary and our own choreographic language and seeing how it works out visually. So I had Mind the Gap. We had Mind the Gap going, and then we did have breaks in between our performances just because Celine had other commitments. So it really worked out for us, which allowed me to go to LA, 4.5 hours away if you drive, an hour flight, and audition for other TV and film things that were going on here. So I auditioned for, at that point I had an agent.
Okay.
Lisa Coppola. And it was a direct book for this Tony Bennett special that aired on NBC. And it was when he did his duets album. He did duets with Christina Aguilera, John Legend, Michael Bublé, Elton John. And I was blown away working with Rob Marshall. I'm like, what is life right now?
There you go. There you go.
I went from ROTC to like Celine Dion, a legend, Tony Bennett, working with Rob Marshall. So that's how that all came about. It really, being a part of the show also offered this flexibility when we were off to, head to LA and audition for different projects. And also other artists started using our stage when we were off. So I was also, I got to dance for Gloria Estefan for her Live and Unwrapped tour, which was amazing. Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine. So Vegas, I had a good time in Vegas.
I'm sure.
So Ebony, I want to show people who are joining us your work, and you were fantastic enough to provide us with a reel that's going to help give people a small taste of who you are. Just before I show that, I want to acknowledge some folks that are watching along with us. Jim McCutcheon, who's a member of Opera San Antonio's board, says hello to Francesco and I. Thank you, Jim. Virginia has always been with us, and she's saying hello, beautiful artist. Virginia, thank you as always for joining. Hey, Ryan Scott Lathan says, hi, Ebony and Lauren. I think Ryan must have been a Fort Worth Porgy and Bess. Is that correct?
Yep.
We're going to talk about that later. So Ryan, stay tuned. And Virginia's also saying, Ebony, you're amazing. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
More. So I think what we should do is be able to show folks your dance reel. We'll get a sense of who you are as a dancer, and then we can talk a little bit more about what the next steps are and how some more of those hats that we talked about at the start of the interview come into play. So here we go. This is Ebony's work. incredible.
Absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So good. So
Yeah.
Ebony, I wanted to show that because I think it's going to string us into like the next phase of things that you started to try out. So we know you're dancing gorgeously. We know you're in Las Vegas, but you're also going to start to cruise into Los Angeles.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that transition?
Right. Yes. So we're nearing this show ending. The contract's over. We've been there for 5 years. And because I had already lived in New York, I thought that I was going to move back to New York, but I had gone back and forth over the 5 years to LA. And I'm like, what else do I want to pursue on top of like just pursuing dance? And I was like, acting. Okay, let me go to LA. So I arrive in LA and I'm still auditioning and getting a lot of no's and then some yeses. And I stumble actually upon, I take a class at Lula Washington Dance Theater. So the last clip that you saw, that duet, was a piece called, a ballet called Love Is, that was choreographed by the amazing Christopher Huggins, who was a principal dancer at Ailey. And I end up taking dance class there, and Lula Washington asks me, hey, so where are you dancing? What, do you want to dance for our company? I was like, yeah. So I spend a year in this amazing Black dance company that's based in LA. And it's really important for me to say a dance company in a TV and film dominated city.
Yeah.
Black dance company that's been around for 40 years. And that has toured nonstop. I toured with them for a year and was able to really work with some great choreographers. Like I said, Christopher Huggins, Rennie Harris, who choreographed a house piece for us. And they toured internationally. So that was such a beautiful experience. And I still have ties to them. So I just want to say hi.
Shout out.
And when we do get up and running and we're able to meet in person, and even if not, I just encourage people to check out Lula Washington Dance Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating that relationship with them and also still constantly auditioning, because at this point I have an agent and I'm just getting auditions here and there. And LA Opera comes up and I'm like, I've never been to an opera, but I'll audition. I'd never been to an opera.
What?
Francesca, don't act surprised. I didn't go to my first opera till after I had graduated from undergraduate. So some of us later in life.
Okay. There's a first for everything, but it's
all right.
But it's such a beautiful. I think it's a beautiful testament to not knowing what's in store for you and just taking a leap of faith. So I am personally at that point in time thinking I'm just going in as a dancer, right? And I looking for my next job. And that's what dancers do. We're independent contractors and we're constantly interviewing. We're constantly auditioning.
Yeah.
And for that one moment to lead to us today and kind of that process of going from stage to leading to my new relationship with the opera world. And so I auditioned for La Rondine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it. And so here I am. I'm like, yay, okay, this is amazing. And I'm like, wow, this is something. And LA Opera was, everyone there is so warm and so welcoming. And I had such a great experience there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very nice to be a part of a union.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, wait, we're taking a 10-minute break, but I'm good. I can keep dancing. And they're like, no, it's a 10.
No, you need to rest.
Yeah.
It's rest time. Nap time. Sorry.
Right. It's nap time. And so that kind of started my relationship with LA Opera. From there, and I think you may have seen a couple of clips. I had Candide in the clip, and also Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had just a wonderful time with auditioning and being a part of the LA Opera family. And it's also very convenient because I'm not too far from LA Opera. So yes.
Perfect.
Now you've tripped into opera, so we've put that puzzle piece into place. But Ebony, there's one more big puzzle piece to land. And I think, in LA, it's hard to move forward and not talk about film. So at what point does all of that come into play for you?
Yeah, so while I am dancing for LA Opera or Lula Washington Dance Theater, and doing that, really getting a lot of auditions for dance, wasn't really getting that many for acting. So in the meantime, I'm taking classes, workshops, and trying to find an acting agent, which is not that easy to do. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? And it's the story of many, out of necessity. Because I wasn't getting the auditions for acting, I was like, what if I write something for myself? Would that work? And I remember taking a couple of classes at LA Community College. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take 2 semesters. I took TV and film production and a directing class.
Great.
And screenwriting. And then I was like, I'm ready. They didn't really advise for me to do it that way. Like I was like, can I just take the directing? I kind of a la carte picked what classes I wanted to take. And around that time, I'm still dancing, pursuing acting. And I find out that my grandmother has dementia. And just listening to conversations with my mom and my 2 uncles trying to figure out what's the next step to take care of their mom living with dementia. Does she move in with us? What do we do? And that's when I had this idea. I'm like, I'm the oldest of 3 kids and I'm here pursuing my dreams and I don't have the responsibility of raising kids. So that sort of responsibility. And I'm like, what does that look like if my parents needed assistance? Like, as our parents age, and that's the question that I wanted to explore, is what does it look like? Who will take care of your parents as they age, and will it be you? So I wrote this short film called Grace that really just touches on the subject of being a caregiver and also trying to pursue her life outside of caregiving and struggling with that responsibility.
Gotcha. So when we showed your dance reel, we had some folks chime in like Alan Savada, who say impressive, Crystal Durrell Johnson, who says very nice, Ebony, thank you for sharing, and Virginia, who's effervescent as always, brava, stunning. Let's see what happens, Ebony, when we show people a clip, or I guess this is the trailer from Great. Yes?
Yes.
Great.
Good morning. Like Grace said, my name is Peter. Let me start over. That's Peter.
Finally.
Good morning to you too.
I'm glad it wasn't an emergency.
Was there an emergency, Grace?
I called you last Thursday. I need you to watch Dad.
What about Linda?
She took this week off for her daughter's wedding. You do know she only comes here twice a week to help me with Dad, right? Hello?
Why didn't you leave a message telling me you needed me to watch Dad?
I did, Angela, on Thursday.
Oh, well, next time you leave a message, just be clear about what you need from me.
I was.
No, what you said was, call me back. It's about Dad.
Yeah, well, when it's about Dad, it's because I need your help with him.
Yeah, right. What an exciting first adventure.
Yes. This short film is really near and dear to my heart. Again, one of those things, Francesco, that when I talked about the opera, is that sometimes we think, as an artist, I thought that I was going for a dance job. And it turned into so much more. And so I realize, and I love those surprises when you don't understand what's behind the next door. And so with this short film, I was like, oh, this is a way for me to showcase myself and actually talk about a really important subject matter. But it's also putting me in front of the camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's happened is that it has morphed into this thing greater than me being in front of the camera. It's really started a conversation and people reaching out to me and sharing their experience, because I don't have first-time experience being a caregiver, but caregivers reaching out to me and explaining that they're going through this exact thing. And it was nice to see the struggle that happens, and caregivers need care as well.
And so how far has the film made it? Where has it been shown? Where can people see it? Is it something we can see on Netflix or something, or what? You tell us what the reach is. Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, we made it to LA Opera, then you can go anywhere you want. After that, it's fine. Netflix, Hulu, we're going to start your own station. It's going to be Ebony. People are going to be signing up for Ebony. It's fine. Yeah.
Hey, I received that. Okay.
I'm just saying, it's a challenge. I mean, what else are we doing?
What else are we doing?
I'm just spitting out challenges. There you go. Ebony TV. Got it.
Challenge accepted. So with this short film, interestingly enough, at the same time that I finished the film and started submitting to film festivals, it makes its debut at Pan-African Film Festival while I'm in Candide.
At LA Opera.
At LA.
Got it.
So that was amazing. So Grace toured to over 13 film festivals, it wasn't anything that I expected. I'm like, great, I made this film. Okay, now how do I showcase it? Oh, wait, you like it? Cool. And so 13 film festivals later, and winning an award for Best Short at one of the film festivals. I thank you. More people started reaching out and wanted to license it and put it on their platform. And I got this great opportunity to showcase the film just recently with local TV stations around the nation every weekend for, I want to say, 8 weeks. It was showing in Atlanta, it showed in New York, in LA, in Texas. And so I couldn't have asked for anything more. And now I'm working on the feature film. So where can it be seen? Right now it's on Aspire TV, which that's a cable channel that you would have to add as a featured short film for indie filmmakers. And I mean, I'm proud of the film. I'm proud of the subject matter. And what really made this film come to life is the actor who plays my dad. He passed away actually last year. And while I was in working with Fort Worth Opera. And so I owe this all to him.
Wow.
This film. So again, the evolution of the film is to make it a feature film and really dive in deep about the effects of dementia awareness, dementia and Alzheimer's awareness, and also the struggle that caregivers have, because it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job at all. So
Ebony, sometimes work begets work. So you've put Grace out into the atmosphere, and I think some other opportunities quickly started coming your way.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like when it's quiet, it's quiet. I'm like, did anyone call me? No. Okay, checking emails, nothing. And what I started to realize is you have to, a good friend said, bet on yourself, which simply means that when people aren't saying yes to you, and it happens in our industry so much, there's a lot of no's before there's a yes, that it's important for us to say yes to us and really think about projects that we've been wanting to do but too afraid to do, and just doing it. So from Grace, I get a phone call from a web series, a 7-episode web series called Consequences. And they're like, hey, we heard about you. We were wondering if you wanted to audition. We're looking for one more lead actress. And I said, sure. So I meet with the director and the creator of the show, Tony Tamby, and we just start going back and forth about, okay, so what do you need for production? And I'm super, when I'm passionate about something and I'm in a project, I'm like, oh, I know someone that can do that. I know someone that can do this. And he's like, do you want to be a co-producer on this as well? And I was like, yeah. So that's how I got involved with Consequences web series, which I'm really excited about. We finished our season 1, and I'm excited to say we are on Amazon Prime. That's recent.
Fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we're in post-production for season 2. So
Fabulous.
Great. Well, let's take a look at Consequences. We're going to see if we can familiarize a whole new audience with your work, Ebony.
The Swahili say, do not throw away your copper.
For the sake of gold's glitter. No one listens to Africans.
You know who we are. 419, con man. Back then, we did it to survive. But today, we call ourselves con man with a conscience.
You want me to send thousands of dollars to some African country to some guy I've never met?
This is good. But I'm more interested in what we Americans call joint venture.
Tito, reformed Yahoo boy, finds the target and comes up with a plan. Sebastian, Tito's right-hand man, lawyer 9 to 5, Robin Hood 5 to 9. Everyone knows him in athlete, the chameleon. Hard as nails, cold as ice, quick hands, got don't let that pretty face fool you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Jack the Hack.
So, in other words, it's just a basic con, and we're using an internet scam pitch.
But you do more than just hack, though. I mean, you're married to Isabel, but she's not here. Is she no longer doing this?
Isabel?
Isabel! Don't you ask Isabel.
Doing the wrong thing, even if it's for the right reasons, is still by definition the wrong thing.
They're depending on me.
The girls and I are depending on you two.
You guys don't look like con men. Hopefully you're better thieves.
Well, we prefer the term wealth redistribution experts. None of us is doing this for the money.
You keep living in denial.
What happened to us?
No.
You lied to me. You keep looking for love in all the wrong places.
So is this revenge or business?
Our business is revenge.
I'm just playing with you guys. Nah, we're here to do this job, so what's next?
All right.
Wow.
So now we know you're a movie producer, you're a writer, you're an actor, you're a dancer, you're a singer, you do film, you do straight theater, you do opera. It's just incredible, Ebony.
Thank you, Lauren. I call it my Debbie Allen on. Debbie Allen.
You get it? Get it, Debbie Allen on. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's see if we can weave all of these things together, because now we know that you're in LA and you've got all these different facets of the arts coming together. And if I remember correctly, Ebony, I think we worked on Florencia together in 2014. Mm-hmm. And then we fast forward 4 years and we're up to Candide. And Candide, as I mentioned, at LA Opera, you had a couple of different hats on. You were both performing in it as a triple threat artist, singer, dancer, actress. But Eric Schonfogel gave you another responsibility on that show, which is going to catapult you forward in the opera industry. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to be a dance captain and that element of life?
Yes. Okay. So Eric Schonfogel, first time meeting him was 2014. I love him. And like you mentioned before, I was the principal cover on Florencia. And from there, he reaches out. I auditioned for Candide, and he reaches out and he said, "Would you be interested in being a dance captain?" And I just say yes.
Ebony, did you know what that even meant?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
So I did. A captain of dance. No, I knew what it meant. However, I had never done Candide, and I didn't really understand the responsibility for so many moving parts, a huge, amazing cast, and then, you know, artists that had already done the show several times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I said yes, and then I show up and I'm like, my inner voice is going, now, what did I say yes to? Like, can I actually do this?
Yep.
And so I do it. And this is around the same time. So I'm learning all the choreography fresh with some artists that know the choreography. They've done the different parts and holding that responsibility, as well as running to these film festivals at the same time. So I was kind of on double duty, and I enjoyed it. But, you know, like I shared with you in private, Lauren, that I would go from rehearsal to the show to the film festival, and then I come home and just cry little tears and then start over again. I'm like, am I doing a good job? Because if someone is trusting me enough, to go from principal dance cover to now dance captain for a huge show, well, it means something. And I want to make sure that I do my job, do it well, and that he made the right choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens. And I've done 4 productions with LA Opera, and we even added a show, which for me was the first time that that's ever happened. So that was great. And okay, Candide's over. I'm just focusing now on my short film. And Eric calls again. Some years later. What is it? A year later? I can't remember. But and he says, "Hey, look, I'm really busy because Eric Schonvogel is always busy. And would you be interested in being an associate choreographer for Porgy and Bess? Because I can't be there. Would you mind just covering it?" And I was, again, yes.
That's what we say. Is there anything else to say when someone asks, can you do this? If someone asked me to be a dance captain, I'd say yes, and then I call you. That's exactly what I would do.
Yes, I read this quote that really resonated. I love quotes. And like they motivate me. And there is this quote that says, start before you're ready.
Mm.
And it's so powerful because a lot of times, even now for me, I tend to get in my head about what am I up to next? And sometimes that just blocks you from just jumping right in and learning along the way. And I think that that's where you really find those lessons. You are learning on the job in real time. So it impacts you in a way that you can never get from theory or just reading.
Right. And these are things that no one can teach you. Like no one can teach, that's just like the it factor, or like whatever it is, even like being a stage director or a conductor, especially being a conductor, I can certainly speak. You learn most from doing it. No one can teach you how to do that. So and I find that very interesting because you can go from being a dancer where you learn a choreography and then naturally go to that, where like musicians, there's not that many people that are like, oh yes, I play the piano, I play Mozart, I must be a great composer, I should try composing. Doesn't work. Doesn't work all the time. So, I think it's very fascinating and interesting that the physicality of the language of what you do is naturally leading to that kind of creativity and stuff. And I find that on the job stuff is the best. That's where you learn it. So
yes, you dive right in and you learn how to swim. You learn how to swim. And again, it was, I was off in the world of, yes, I'm dancing. Oh, now I'm I'm working on movies and really creating and facilitating that career. And for Eric to say, hey, but one more thing, can you do this? And so, you're going in one direction and then all of a sudden a new road appears. And I think that I believe that they all link up in that way, right? So doing the short film, writing, producing, directing that, and really building a team to make that happen led to the web series, which then at the same time being a dance captain and really collaborating with other artists and really understanding how to communicate and understand what they need from me and what I would need from them is such a lovely marriage that saying yes, although it was scary, it was also really exciting. So I said yes, and last year I worked with Fort Worth Opera on my first Porgy and Bess.
You love Texas.
Say it again.
I'm saying you love Texas. That's all I'm saying. Just saying you love Texas.
I love Texas. This is my first time working in Texas.
What?
Right. So although I'm from Texas, the opera
is what brought you back.
Is what brought me back. And having family in Dallas and then family in Austin that were able to, drive in and see this amazing show, and having the opportunity for Eric Sean Fogel to trust me, for Francesca Zambella to trust me, working with Garnett Bruce, who. So I'm getting thrown in and meeting people that they've already have relationships and have worked together before. So I'm the new kid on the block, and it's like the first day of school, and you just don't know, like, you have to read energy, and how does this director work? Does this director want me to be very vocal about that, not necessarily but more movement, or am I just teaching choreography? And I have to admit, I called Eric and I'm like, I'm scared. He goes, I will come in for what? He said 24 hours. He flew in. And he kind of walked me through it the first day. And he's like, girl, you got it. I'm out. And I'm with Garnett, and Garnett just gave me, he's a fellow Gemini. I'm a Gemini, first of all. I love Geminis. He gave me room to do a little bit of both. So definitely the choreography was there, but also to chime in on just movement and staging, and really allowed me to take that position and not just shut me down and say, hey, you stick to the choreography. So I really do appreciate that work relationship. And so from there, from Fort Worth Opera, then Cincinnati comes around, and I'm doing another Porgy and Bess, and this time I know what I'm doing. Still nervous.
As you should be.
Yeah.
As we all are all the time.
Right. And putting my brave face on, but constantly going like, am I doing a good job? Are we good? Are we good? And that was a great experience as well. My first time in Cincinnati. And recently, really recently, in February of this year, then did my Porgy and Bess as associate choreographer for the Atlanta Opera.
Fabulous.
Well, let's take a look, Ebony. We've got a final clip to share with folks today that's from the Atlanta production of Porgy and Bess. And just to recap, it's a Francesca Zambello production. Here's a phenomenal piece of work from Ebony Adams and Atlanta Opera. Hey, all right.
Fantastic. Such great artists too. What a room that must have been with Morris and Talise, and so great.
Absolutely.
So Ebony, there's so much more that we could talk to. I feel like, we could spend an hour on every single one of these facets of who you are. But before we wrap up today, I want to talk a little bit about where the industry is right now. I know COVID's had an impact on all of us in terms of future opportunity, and also give you a chance to speak towards your thoughts being a Black woman in the industry, in a leadership position, and how much growth there can be in the arts in general.
Yes. So thank you for that, Lauren. So this is a very special day, not only because we're interviewing for Beyond the Production, but it's a special day because it's August 28th and it marks 57 years, a March on Washington, where MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., marched and spoke about having a dream and really fighting for job, racial equality, and freedom. And here we are in 2020 and we're still in this. And it's baffling, it's mind baffling to me. And sometimes it feels overwhelming, especially with everything that's going on. So we're going through a pandemic and we're having to understand what that is. We don't have the privilege anymore of meeting face to face, of collaborating and working and rehearsing together in a theater to put on a show for people to come to the theater. So there's that. We're dealing with racial injustices, and then so what's coming up is the lack of diversity, right? So it's really can feel overwhelming, and we cannot tackle everything, and we can't cure everything and heal everything globally. But what we can do is just, and what I think is important, is just look at where we are. And where I am is a Black woman in LA pursuing and running in the directions of several dreams, and had opportunities to really showcase how I work and how I create and how I collaborate. But I seeked that opportunity, but I was also given that opportunity. And so I really think that it's important for the arts, because as artists, like that's our love. That's what makes our heart sing, is to self. I don't know if am I still here? Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
It cut out for a second. And that representation, if we just a little bit. And so representation and diversity is really important. And I really truly believe that it can not only be represented on the stage, because that's just the surface. That is just the surface. So for me, and my own personal experience, I am so grateful that Eric Schonfogel trusted me enough to take on the associate choreographer position. But what I did, what was very apparent to me, was that there was a lack of diversity on the other side. There was a lack of diversity when it comes to the artistic production and the crew. And so although we may be working towards diversity in front with a lights, camera, and on stage, it's also very important that the entire company really pursues that diversity for the people that you don't see that make the show happen. So for me, that's really important. There are a lot of amazing people of color, choreographers, stage managers, directors, that perhaps are being overlooked or not getting the opportunity. So that I hold that near and dear to my heart. And I'm, again, grateful for the operas that I have done, and even more so engaging with Cincinnati Opera, who, again, more work kind of snowballed into being a part of Porgy and Bess, where I wasn't just, I found out through other artists that you get pigeonholed into like one production. You're only seen as that. And I'm like, well, I don't want that for myself. And Cincinnati has been really great to me and offering me some up and coming productions, which were supposed to happen pre-pandemic, which I'm really excited about. One being Barber, so on as a choreographer, and then for world premiere for Castor and Patience, which is exciting to me, and it's exciting to go back to the beginning, where years ago I auditioned for LA Opera as a dancer, just doing a little can, and then coming to this point where we can have this conversation where I am in the room, I have a seat at the table, and I'm representing, or the beginning of really representing diversity on the other side.
Ebony,
crash
through those barriers. Get it, Ebony. That's all I have to say about that. Alan Savada, Ebony, is asking if you were slated to be in DC with Washington National Opera. I know that's the same Porgy and Bess production, but I think Eric and Garnett were to be there. Were you slated for that one as well?
No, I wasn't. I think I just finished Cincinnati, so no.
Oh, okay. So you had a dovetail going on there. So Alan, I'll say, keep your eyes peeled for other Ebony opportunities in the near future. But he's very excited about you, saying, hope our paths cross soon, and truly an amazing person, which we couldn't agree with more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Ebony, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today for so many reasons. I think it's so fabulous to let people know about how many different things you can play with as an artist. I think it's so fabulous to see someone who's got a career that spans so many different facets of the arts. And I just think you're an incredible go-getter. So I feel very lucky to know you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to have you, Ebony.
And I'm also going to say a big thank you to everyone who is watching with us live today. And of course, extra special thanks to those of you who may be joining us later online. We'll be back again in another 2 weeks with another special guest. And if you want to catch any of the interviews, including today's with Ebony, you can head to the Opera San Antonio YouTube channel. We've got a whole playlist there for this Beyond the Production series, and you can see all 15 interviews that we've done so far.
Wow.
I know, incredible, right?
Happy 15th anniversary, Lauren.
Yes. But thank you, Francesco, as always, for being here with me. And thank you, Ebony, for being our special guest today. Thank you again for our audience, and we will see everybody in 2 weeks. Have a good afternoon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.